All right, we're live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 179 that we're going to, I guess, title Good Police Work. There's a lot of better names. I just couldn't think of any. Tom's usually good with the names, but executive order, I said this is what it's going to be, and that's it.
I'm okay with that.
So, well, let's take it slow. We'll get to that later. Let's just do some really quick things. First off, because we are a podcast and we really do like the Pocket Cast guys, we want to wish them tell them congratulations for getting bought out by NPR for I'm hoping more money than they know what to do with, because they're awesome.
Yeah, they really do deserve it. Pocket Cast is awesome. It keeps getting better. They don't do any of this weird, hey, you've got to pay us X number of dollars per month. I literally bought it once, and they said, yeah, sure, here you go. Here's some updates. We're going to keep making this thing better and more stable and introduce features that you want and, give you the statistics on podcasts if you're a nerd, which I am. And then I wanted to use it on the web and like, oh, yeah, we've got a web version. We do charge for that, though. Only one time. So you can just pay for it. And I did. And it's great. So congrats.
We had them on the show way back when on In 30, actually, where they had a kerfuffle with Amazon where they were the free app of the day, and then something. They didn't get money. They weren't happy, and they explained it all to us and all how it works. I'm not going to link it. It was way back when this podcast wasn't even that good. So let's just say we bought it again. It is a one-time fee. They're awesome. So, and we wish them well and good for them. So hopefully nothing changes and they keep going. Yeah,
the best case scenario out of all of this is that they just get a ton of money. They get to, go buy Lamborghinis and, put their families in a mansion and stuff like that. And all they do is provide, bug fixes and dependency updates for the already awesome Pocket Cast app. Yeah, I don't know what else they could do to it to make it better, because it's already pretty fantastic.
So in our WhatsApp group, which again, you should totally join, just message us. By the way, I have a problem. Twitter decided to kill off their app. So multiple accounts on Twitter now is really, really difficult.
Yep.
So if you send In 30 a message, I will see it. It's not going to be today or tomorrow, but I will get to it. It's when I check Twitter on my phone, because the phone app does have multiple accounts. But just FYI, if you message us and you don't hear from us, it's not because we're ignoring you. But we found out on the WhatsApp group that people listen to podcasts at 1x. If you have not sped up your podcasts, we highly recommend it. It's like a whole new world if you can listen slightly faster.
So to plug Pocket Cast yet again, they've got this cool feature called trimming silence. It's kind of controversial because you won't hear dramatic pauses like this. But what it will do is it'll save you the 5 seconds I just paused there. Chunk it out of the podcast, just cut it out completely, and save you a little bit of time. So I regularly listen to just about all my podcasts on 3x the normal speed with trimmed silence, and I can knock out an episode of Security in 30 in like 9 minutes or something. It's fantastic.
I'm a 1.8 guy, and that silence reduction, whatever they called it, it's not a new thing. All the big podcast apps do have that. They call it different things, but yes, they reduce it. One of the things when we started In 30 was people would just talk and talk and talk. They have this microphone, they have nothing to do, and we could sit here. Our pre-show is probably half an hour. We could have just recorded that and just put that out.
Yeah.
But again, I saw it as when you set up a podcast, you want to know how long it's going to take. Is it going to be 30 minutes? Is it going to be an hour? And obviously the right time is the length of someone's commute. So if your commute is 15 minutes, you want all your podcasts to be 15 minutes. If it's 30, it's 30. So how do you manage that? So we tell you ours is 30 minutes, but with speeding it up and everything else, it's good. It does its job. And if you've never listened, like I said, if you've never listened to a podcast that at a faster speed, try it. Start and build yourself up. So then you can be like Tom at 3x, which is, I think, insane. But
there was a lot of training. So I listened on like 1 and then 1.5 and some podcasts at 1.5. Like some podcasts have slower speakers where they take their time on things. They don't like speed run through speech like we do here. And you can easily bump those guys up to 2x. But once you hit 2, start going up in like 0.2 increments or 0.1 increments and slowly build up the speed. On one podcast in particular, I can listen at 3.5 and still get all of the content.
It's one of those, and you get through it much faster, and it lets you go through more and everything else. So if you've never done that, also do the make loud. There's a make louder, I think, option where
make voices louder.
Do that, and they do have a 30-second forward skip for when you want to skip 30 seconds for whatever reason, but not to skip the ads. And a reverse speed. They have all this other good stuff. So we and if you can't do it at 1x because the people talk really fast, you can even go slower than that. So, but again, if you haven't done that, we had a big discussion in our group on how fast each of us listened to. So we do recommend it to people who've never thought of that. And for $5, you may say, but the iOS app is awesome. It's good. It's not. The Android app, Google has it, and Google Play. No, just for $5, give them some money. You're going to be happy. It's family library, so you only have to buy it once for your entire family and go from there. You should buy it more times, but go from there.
Yep.
So that was the first thing. We have, I guess, let's first start with Georgia then. So, no, let's skip that. Let's do Twitter. Twitter had a password, not a password breach. We don't want to call it a breach. They noticed something.
Yeah. So this can happen. It's happened to a lot of businesses. It's probably happening right now to some businesses, and they don't even realize it. Where a lot of businesses are set up, a lot of software is set up to do the right thing, which is log things, right? This person tried to access this page at this URL and they got this data back, or we received this API call and we sent this data back. And you can go back through your logs and do everything like cool stuff like data analysis. Hey, this thing is way more popular than this thing. Or, breach analysis. Hey, we see these attackers from these IP addresses did these things, and now we know what they got access to. You can do really annoying things and things you shouldn't be doing. Like, hey, user Bob logged in with password Bob is awesome 36. Okay, you probably shouldn't be logging plain text passwords. A lot of modern web frameworks will actually automatically redact password fields from your logging for you. Twitter, unfortunately, was not utilizing any of those features. So they did discover user passwords in one of their internal logs. There's no evidence of foul play. There's no evidence that anyone got any of these passwords or did anything nefarious with them. But just to be on the safe side, they said, hey, everyone, look, it's not a breach. Like, this didn't leave our company. We even checked. But yeah, we had your passwords in plain text in a file somewhere. So you might want to change them. Yeah. So that's really about it. I changed my accounts, so those are good.
Well, the question is, if you have the same Twitter and Facebook password, do you change both of them?
Yeah, I would. I think because this isn't a breach, right? Twitter has gone through and they've removed all these log files. They've virtually shredded the files that they had access to that contained these plain text passwords. It's up to your risk model and up to, how much time you have. When I saw this story hit the web, I didn't change my Twitter password right away because it's not a breach. I waited a couple days, and when I was sitting at my computer and already logged into Twitter, I was like, yeah, it's probably a good time to change this now. So I changed it then. And using a password manager made that super simple. All right, copy and paste the old one, generate a new one, and I'm done. If you're sharing your Twitter password amongst other sites, change the other sites when you're on them. As a matter of fact, it's probably a good time to make those passwords unique.
And when we talk about the guidelines to change your password, this is one of them. Not a 90-day, oh, it's 90 days later, change it. It's something happened. You know what? If you haven't changed in a while, maybe now is a good time. See, I have two problems. So first off, well, this is a good thing. I never knew my Twitter password to begin with because it's some long LastPass generated nonsense. So changing it was not a big deal. The problem is I have a couple other accounts that we have to get through, like the In30 account and the township account, that now a bunch of people have to know the new password. So I delegated one. So I changed the In30 account and told everyone, changed the town account and told anyone. So now we have to update it there, which is a little annoying. I didn't know what to do. But again, if you also have two-factor on this, it should also save you. So let's say by some chance you got it, the two-factor would save you.
Yeah, always two-factor, all the things. Even if it seems stupid, like you're never going to use it, you never know how a service could be abused by somebody creative. So it, might save you some headache. It could definitely save somebody else some headache.
So moving on, the Georgia governor, I think his name is Nathan Deal, vetoes an anti-DMCA bill. I don't exactly know the right wording on that, but basically it went through the Georgia House that if you tampered with your electronics and you found a bug, the company could actually sue you for violating the DMCA. And that got everyone all riled up and everything else. And we're lucky that at least he listened and said, wait a second, we understand what they're trying to get at, but it's not going to work the way they want. So he vetoed it. So we're happy for that.
Yeah, it wasn't really DMCA. It was, I'm trying to find this because it was posted a couple days ago in our WhatsApp group, which you should totally join. Yeah, I can't find the link anymore. But anyway, what this bill basically did is it was an expansion on the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which basically said, hey, even if you're not maliciously tampering, if you access something you didn't have permission to, if you if you were trying to find bugs in a website that was public and had a bug bounty, technically you could be sued under this law. You were breaking the law. This would basically put a complete end to pen testing, to bug bounties, to ethical hacking in Georgia. And it would open up the doors for a bunch of really nasty lawsuits against security researchers. And that's why the governor vetoed it, which is great. It's fantastic news.
People, I was going to say, people go the other way and say, oh, they stole my intellectual property by doing this. They reverse engineered something they should have done, like the Blu-ray key from many, many years ago. They got that. I'm going to sue them because now this ruins all my business. Yes, there's that sort of issue as well, but it's generally known that people are trying to break stuff so they can actually show you what the problems are and hopefully you try and fix it. And I
believe this bill also had a provisioning for hacking back. Like if somebody hacked you, you now have the legal right to hack them back, creating a class of vigilante hackers. Like it was, this bill got really, really weird.
I mean, if you want a simple story, Keeper, the other password manager, which I guess is fine. It's there was a bug and they sued Dan Gooden of Ars Technica for reporting on the bug. He didn't do anything other than report on public knowledge that there was a bug. And they said, oh, you outed us, or you did this, or you did that, and you did the third thing. And that's basically the problem with this law, because Dan Gooden is now being sued for something that all he did was report on. And I mean, they eventually dropped it, but that's the idea.
I think that's probably a big red flag. If you're using Keeper, don't anymore. Try to move to something else. And if you're looking at Keeper as an option, don't, because apparently they don't know how how the security process works. When a researcher reports a bug, you do your best to fix it. You do your best to satiate them and work with them as much as you can to fix that issue as fast as you can. And that's how things should work. If you start throwing around, legal terms and grabbing your attorneys, and obviously you have no business running security software, let alone software of any kind.
So we're happy for that. We're going to move on again quickly. This happened today. They're reinstating the open internet rules, or at least they're bringing it to a floor vote. In some political procedure, they could do some sort of act, continuing resolution, a CRO, something like that. So 6 months ago, Ajit Pai and the FCC voted to remove the Obama era protections on net neutrality, and it quickly went through everything without really much debate. Went right down party lines. They voted for it. It passed, and that was the end of net neutrality. And the Democrats are trying to figure out some way to do it. States enacted their own rules. California, Oregon, and New York now are doing something. But now that they officially published the rules, they got 50 votes in the Senate to say, hey, hold up a second, we're looking at this, and they may actually be able to reverse it.
Yeah, this is pretty fantastic. It also means that, depending on how this is written, we could see net neutrality become law in the U.S. Which is fantastic. Companies right now, and really the local populace, every time the FCC shifts hands, and really the past 2 times, right? We thought, oh, hey, Tom Wheeler is a I'm trying not to quote John Oliver here.
There's a lobby. He was a lobbyist.
Yeah, he was a cable industry lobbyist. We thought, hey, we can't trust this guy. He's totally getting paid off by the cable companies. It was his bread and butter for forever. And then he turns around and says, hey, net neutrality is a thing. We need to make this happen for the good of the country and the good of the internet. And everyone was blown away and super happy because we had no idea that this was going to be the outcome. He totally mic dropped all over the FCC. And then, Ajit Pai gets in with the changing of the executive branch, and he says, hey, net neutrality is no longer a thing, giving businesses and the general populace, legal whiplash. And if the executive branch changes party hands yet again, and the FCC changes hands yet again, you bet that net neutrality is going back in. It's unsustainable. Nobody can do anything because every 4 years we're flip-flopping on what the rules are. So the Senate is now going to vote, and it looks like they might have the votes. It's going to be tight. It's going to be 50-49, but we might have it. The only thing we can hope is that it doesn't become a tie, because if it does, it is sure to lose with the tie-breaking vote being cast by, I believe, Mike Pence, but I could be wrong on that.
Yes, he's going to do it. But it also has to go through the House.
Yeah.
And the House is plus 21 on the Republican side. But this, I don't know why this is a partisan issue. I get it. You want less government. We don't want less government, but I mean... When you look at the actual populace, when you look at the data being driven by the people, by the constituents themselves, right? It's over 70% want net neutrality. Red, blue, independent, indifferent, it doesn't matter. The vast majority of people want net neutrality protections as law and on the books. It's not a red thing. It's not a blue thing. The only reason it became a partisan issue in Washington, D.C. is because the Democrats said, hey, we did this thing, and the Republicans said, hey, we want to undo this thing. That's literally the only reason it's even being approached as a partisan issue. When it comes to constituents and what the people actually want, the people want net neutrality. Look, you want to watch your Twitch streaming in the best quality whenever you can, because, hey, you paid for the data. And we talked about all this, so we don't want to argue again. And then all of a sudden they come in and say, hold up a second, we're going to prioritize it. But if you want to watch we spoke all about this. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully there is something there there's some bipartisanship to say, hey, we got 51 votes, we can do this, and maybe the House will just fall in line, and then the president will be saying, okay, you gave me a law, I'll sign it. We'll see. We don't know, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll have good news sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, I will avoid getting political. Hopefully we will have good news soon.
So I think that's it for all the small topics. I just wanted to get out of the way. We had open internet rules. The final thing is this happened last week, and when you hear this, it'll be 2 or 3 weeks old at this point. There was the California killer, the Golden State killer, cold case that was broken open from 30 years ago. All of a sudden, they had a lead, and they arrested their prime suspect based on DNA, and everyone's reporting that they subpoenaed the DNA companies, and 23andMe and Ancestry and all the other ones just folded over and handed off them. But that's not actually the case. They did a whole bunch of good police work, finding victims, doing Ancestry to find family trees, and asking volunteers to give their DNA. And through all of that, and do we want to say machine learning or AI, they were able to give a good lead to the suspect and get his DNA and confirm what they thought and arrested him.
So GEDMatch is a little, I believe, an open source site a free open source site run by 2 people. This comes from the Ars Technica article on it, which will be in the show notes. They relied on using some not direct data from the killer, but ancillary data. Like these 2 people are related because these sequences of DNA match in their profile. And they actually used that combined with a lot of good police work, including physically tailing the guy and then grabbing something that had remnants of his DNA on it, right? So, like, let's say, I don't know if this is the case, but let's say he was, drinking some coffee, not in a reusable mug, but let's say he was drinking it in a disposable mug, takes a sip, finishes his coffee, chucks it in the nearest trash receptacle. Well, the detectives are all over that, and now you've got a sample of the man's DNA, right? He throws away a popsicle stick or something with a straw on it or a toothpick. I mean, getting DNA from a person is actually super, super easy if you're tailing them, because people throw away stuff all the time that they've been eating or chewing on or whatever. And it was good police work, good detective work, and good follow-up that opened the cold case and cracked it. They got the guy. They solved the case.
And again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty and everything else. But the thing that comes from this is where the tinfoil hat people like me have said, this is what happens when you give your DNA and all the stuff to all these companies. They can just be subpoenaed into giving all this out. And it's up to you. What's your risk assessment or your threat model to say, I'm okay with this? Because the benefits they're going to give may outweigh the fact that law enforcement can get this, and everyone's. Go ahead.
It's good to keep in mind that GEDMatch was not subpoenaed. The law enforcement actually used this like a user would to make these matches. So they didn't demand information. They didn't strong arm these people into giving it over. Nothing like that. They used essentially an open database openly. But what you said is a really good point. When you submit your DNA information to, whatever site, right? You willingly submit data into a database for the purposes of, either looking at health markers or, potential or relationships or ancestry, whatever. You could not only be affecting yourself, but literally every single person that connects to you now and later. Your data is not in isolation. It doesn't live in a vacuum, and data becomes vastly more powerful when it's connected to other pieces of related data. And that's what we see here.
And again, these companies do have if they're being subpoenaed, they're in the US, they have to give over the data that they have. And it's up to you to figure out, is this worth it? Is this not worth it? And if you want to start with Ancestry and figure all this out, a lot of my friends are trying to figure out their family tree and are really happy with the results, then go for it. And just be aware. If you don't want to know all this stuff, this is what hiding the data means. You don't give it to them, but then you're not entitled to all these awesome things that they could potentially be finding. So it's up to you.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't think this is the last time we'll see a case using these DNA databases. I think it's definitely a possibility in the future, probably a pretty good possibility. It'll be interesting. We'll have to see.
These DNA sites have a vested interest to keep your data private, because if there's a rumor that the healthcare industry or the insurance companies went after somebody and denied them healthcare based on what they found by asking, there will be a huge amount of repercussions. That's the conspiracy theory, that they can do this. So they have a vested interest to keep it private. But the question is, if the government is going after one of them because they know they have evidence and somebody who committed some horrific act, what's going to happen? And again, it's the same idea with unlocking the iPhone or any of the crypto articles that we've been speaking about. So yeah, that would be interesting.
Today, at least the big companies, so 23andMe commented on the Ars Technica article, and Ancestry also commented. They are both saying, hey, we are actively working to resist law enforcement inquiries, and we will only give up user information if requested to through a valid legal process, meaning a subpoena, warrant, court order, stuff like that. Which I'm not saying that those processes are infallible, or that we should settle for that being as good as it's going to get. But just know that at least for 23andMe and Ancestry.com, they aren't turning into data brokers. They do have a vested interest to protect your data.
So, and again, for right now, that's the way it is. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it looks like right now, all the stuff at the bottom looks like they're working to keep your data as safe as they can.
Yep.
And I don't have anything else. We ran through literally everything we had. So
no, I think that's about it.
Okay. So with that said, we're just going to end early, and we will see everyone. Hopefully we don't want news, but we'll most likely get news for next week. So we'll see everyone. Have a good night.
See everybody.
Bye.